Hello there, good morning and welcome to this, the WordPress weekly news from WP Builds. It's number 42 and it's covering the WordPress news for the week commencing the 3rd of December 2018 and it was published on the 10th of December 2018. If you wouldn't mind heading over to the wpbuilds.com website, we've got a few links at the top of that page, which I'd really appreciate it if you wouldn't mind having a look at. The first one to mention is that we've got a subscribe link, and if you click on that link, you'll be able to get notifications about what we do. So, for example, there's a form you can fill in and get updates via newsletter. There's a Facebook group that you can join. You can click the Messenger button, and we'll be able to send you updates about when we bring new stuff out via Facebook Messenger. And we've got a YouTube channel and a Slack channel, and essentially all that we do with most of these channels is just simply tell you when the latest episode has been released. That's the primary purpose anyway. The next thing to say is if you would like to advertise on this newsletter, this weekly bulletin, or on the podcast on a Thursday, you can go to wpbuilds.com/advertise. We've got pre-roll, post-roll and banner ads available. If you go to /deals, you'll be able to find a whole heap of deals on WordPress products and services and all that kind of stuff. So that's wpbuilds.com/deals. And for example, it's, discount coupon codes for various WordPress plugins and various things like that. So for example, there's 25% off main WP, 20% off Blog Vault, 20% off Toolset. That's the kind of thing. So also, if you are a SaaS app owner or a WordPress product owner and you want your deal put on there, just reach out and we'll get it on as quickly as we can. And /webinars to find out about our latest webinars. And the very last one, very quickly, we are starting to put out content coming from you guys, our audience. And if you've got something that you're happy that you've done recently, you're very proud of something that you achieved over the last, 2 or 3 months, say, go to /contribute and fill out the form. And I'm starting to do tiny little 10, 15, 20-minute podcast episodes with people in our community. And I'm going to start putting those on the website in the next couple of weeks. Great. Okay, let's get stuck into this news, shall we? The first one, well, what do you know? It's about WordPress 5.0 landing. This one is from the WordPress.org website, and it's actually written by Matt Mullenweg himself, and he just outlines over there the things that come with Gutenberg. Now, this is primarily an article for those people who, I suppose, aren't really regular users of WordPress. Perhaps it's the kind of article that you could point your client towards if they've never come across Gutenberg before and they've decided they want to try it out. It's really well written and it explains everything and is laid out very, very well. But if you've been following this story very closely, then it's probably not all that crucial that you read it. But one nice thing is it does list all of the people who've contributed to Gutenberg and WordPress 5.0 and so on and so forth. There's an awful lot of them. So thanks to you guys for getting it out the door. Of course, it was widely predicted that things could go horribly wrong. And yet, to my knowledge thus far, nobody's had an absolute catastrophe so far. So fingers crossed that when you updated some of your sites over the last week, you had that experience too. Now, speaking of Matt Mullenweg, if you go to the talkmag.io website, they have an article all about this week's WordCamp US, in which Matt Mullenweg took to the stage and did his State of the Word address. A couple of years ago, he coined the phrase "learn JavaScript deeply." And this time it would appear that he's coining a new phrase, which is "learn blocks deeply." The article simply expresses what he said during his time on stage, talked about the fact that we've now completed, if you like, phase 1 of the Gutenberg editor, which is now just going to be called the editor. And he also talks about what phase 2 will be, and it's things like editing menus, either in a block or a series of blocks with live changes. And then going on to phases 3 and 4 in the distant future. So phase 3 is going to include things like co-editing. So imagine Google Docs, but in WordPress. And phase 4 is going to be an official way to support multilingual sites. Now that's probably several years away, but nevertheless, really interesting developments if that's what's happening. A Google Docs style type of editing with multiple people at the same time. and multilingual stuff baked in. So that's great. Right, the next few articles are all about sort of Gutenberg and updating, and really I think I've just provided these as a way of perhaps you want to go and look at some of these if you are unfamiliar with Gutenberg, or you just want to find a nice article to put in the way of your clients. So this first one is on the WP Tavern website, and it's called WordPress 5.0 Lays a Foundation for the Platform's Future, and it's I suppose it's quite similar to Matt Mullenweg's article, only it very briefly lays out what the Gutenberg editor is, where certain items can be located, what the new default theme looks like, and what's going to happen next. It's much shorter than the one that I mentioned a moment ago, so it might be ideal for just sticking in front of your client. So yeah, there we go. The next one is all about, well, it's from iThemes, and it's how to update a WordPress website. I don't know if your clients update their own stuff. I don't let them do that. I do everything myself. But this is an article explaining, well, here's a bunch of things you should probably do before you update your website to 5.0. I'm supposing that most of you have done this already, but it's iThemes, and they've got a list of 7 items. It's things, the usual stuff like perform a thorough audit, confirm everything's up to date, get everything on a staging environment first, get some backups and so on and so forth. But again, very nice if you've got some clients and you would just like to give them a little bit of a pointer about what it is they need to do. This next one is from wphive.com, and it's kind of like a bit of a, should I update to Gutenberg to 5.0 yet, or maybe I should sort of wait around on 4.9.x. And this is a much lengthier article, and it actually goes into great detail about what Gutenberg provides. It literally explains all of the different things, like, okay, this is what a table block looks like, this is what a live HTML block looks like, this is what it looks like when you drag and drop images, this is what the recent blocks looks like. So it's very, very long, and they go through all of the bits and pieces of editing with Gutenberg. It's a nice read, so that's one that you could definitely put in front of clients if you needed to. Okay, so we're still on the theme of Gutenberg. This one is back to the WP Tavern. This is a new block, and the reason I've included the next few is because of, I think now that Gutenberg's out, it's happened. All of the people who didn't want it to happen, well, it did. And now we've got to kind of move on, I think, and hopefully we're all going to start adopting it in the future. And this one's very nice because it's just giving us a glimpse of what developers will be able to do in the future. This is Rich Tabor's Block Gallery plugin, and it demonstrates how somebody has built a gallery plugin built into Gutenberg, how you can tick, 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 I want to show those images, and here's the styling options in the sidebar to the right. It looks really fabulous. It makes making galleries unbelievably trivially easy because he's got a block. So I would urge you maybe this is one of those plugins that you just want to go and install straight away because it just looks like fun to play with. It really has lots of customization options, and I really like it. So that's the photo gallery block for Gutenberg. This next one is all about the AMP plugin. AMP plugin for WordPress version 1.0 introduces Gutenberg integration and AMP validation. If you use AMP, Accelerated Mobile Pages, then this is probably a bit of a no-brainer. We're on version 1.0 of the plugin now, and the real takeaway from this one is that it's now going to give you sort of validation errors. So if you put anything into your page which won't work on AMP pages, it now throws up errors. I've not really played with this too much, so I'm not really sure how it failed in the past. Presumably it failed silently. Well, now it's generating errors which appear on the page so that you can tackle them right away. So that looks really good as well. And this next one is the events calendar. And the events calendar guys, I think it's Modern Tribe who make that plugin. I know it's widely popular. They've put together a little video of how you can use their plugin to create events with their blocks. They've got a whole ton of blocks. So, you set the time in a block, you set the sort of call to action in a block, and the confirm in a block, and the date in a block, and the maps in a block, and the locate. All of this stuff is all just handled. And again, it just makes me think, boy, this stuff really is powerful. You know, if people like Modern Tribe can pull this off very, very quickly after the release, well, there's a lot of fabulous stuff coming down the pipe. And here's another one. This one is harking back to a few weeks ago where we had the concerns about Gutenberg's accessibility and how the whole 5.0 and Gutenberg got rolled out without the accessibility stuff being dealt with properly. And this is Smashing Mag, and they've got a take on it. Quite a long form article, which is what they normally do. The conclusion being really that we ought to have had an awful lot more communication between different parties. But if Gutenberg frustrated you, and if you are, you know, somebody that wants to deal with WordPress core updates and things like that in the future, maybe this is something to read and understand where things went wrong and how to possibly fix them in the future. Okay. I think that's it. I think we're done with Gutenberg. Is that possible? My goodness me, I very much doubt it. We'll probably return to it next week. So let's move on. This one is a WordCamp thing. If you enjoy WordCamps, you'll probably know that the biggest one on earth is not WordCamp US. Apparently it is WordCamp Europe. And WordCamp Europe at the moment is looking for a host city for their 2020 WordCamp. It's been run in the past in places like Sofia, Seville, Vienna, Paris, Belgrade and so on. And they would like it to be, I guess, somewhere different. You've got to fill out a 7-page survey. You've got to have run a successful WordCamp in a major European city. And the deadline, I think, is coming up very soon in the next week or so. No, sorry, the deadline isn't, but you can start on it in the next week or so. And it looks like the deadline is on the 28th of February. So if you are involved in any way with WordCamps and you think, boy, I'd love to have the big one in my hometown, then yes, go and have a look. That was on WP Tavern. This next one comes from the WPMU Dev website. If you are a subscriber to their product, they now have a couple of new options. The first one, just very quickly, is that they've got a built-in analytics dashboard. It doesn't require any extra plugin. This stuff's just baked in. So essentially, you can just look at a very slimmed down version of how many people have visited your site and so on. It's all in the dashboard. Might be useful for clients. And also, they've got this way of, their branding is very heavy. They've got this sort of superhero theme. And in all honesty, it's a little bit much for me. A lot of their plugin interfaces have got those great big muscly characters, and you know, the lady who is sort of dressed as a superhero, and I find it all a little bit much. Well, now it looks like you can hide all that stuff. They gave it a funny name. It was called a hero hider. So they've decided maybe our branding needs to be hidden on some of the client sites, so you can now do that as well. This next one, it just occurred to me, why aren't I telling you about the WP Builds podcast episodes in this news item? So I'm going to do it, and I'm going to talk about Rebecca Gill. She was on the podcast on Thursday last week. An amazing person, very much in the centre of the WordPress community, especially SEO. She has had the most extraordinary life, and unusually for the podcast, we don't really talk a lot about plugins or themes or anything like that. We just talk about how the community really has transformed her life. It is an absolutely fascinating story about how adversity can be turned around by a community, in this case WordPress. So I would encourage you to go and check that out. It was really nice recording that one. Okay, if you go to the Simply Schedule Appointments web page, this is a fairly new plugin. We had the developers on a little while ago, probably over a year now. And this is them talking about their advanced scheduling. I believe this stuff is fairly recent, but they've updated their plugin. And if you're looking for a scheduling plugin for appointments and meetings and all of that kind of stuff, they've got this advanced option now, which has been released, and it enables you to say things like, I don't want to start booking appointments until this date, and then I want it to end on this date. So if lots and lots of websites need that kind of functionality, so I'm just pointing it out. It's an option, and I rather like the look of it. Speaking of plugins, the Elementor page builder has introduced something this week called action links. Now, most links obviously go to a web page, but we obviously know that in this day and age, there's an awful lot more that we can do with those links. So Elementor have brought out something in their suite of products called action links. An example might be you can, in their UI, very quickly say, this is a phone number. So if I'm going to put some numbers into this box and it's a phone number, so if you're on a mobile and somebody clicks it, please use the dialer. And it might be, for example, this is a location bit of information. So if somebody clicks on this, I'd like you to open up Waze, which is a popular free navigation tool on iOS and Android. And it might be, this is an email address. So if somebody clicks on this button, please open up their email client with all of these fields, the to field, and a bit of information in the email itself pre-filled. I just think it's quite nifty. They also open up things like WhatsApp, Messenger, Viber, and Skype. It's just a nice little addition. If you've got Elementor, why wouldn't you want this? Okay, cyber attacks. Why do we have these? But we do. WordFence talks this week. Now, this is a long article and it goes really into the weeds, and I'm not going to mention it. But if cybersecurity is something that you're interested in, this article on WordFence is called Botnet of Infected WordPress Sites Attacking WordPress Sites. And it explains how a bunch of people have managed to sequester about 20,000 WordPress sites, and via all sorts of command and control operations, they're able to use those WordPress sites to attack other WordPress sites. The aim, of course, is to use XMLR. I can never pronounce how that goes. What is it? XMLRPC, he said, hoping that was right. And leverage that to upgrade user accounts to administrators, and then goodness knows what they'll be able to do. Basically anything with your website. If you're into this stuff, go and check out that link. It's a fascinating read on how they've tracked it down this week. Okay, this is fairly big. We finished the WordPress news, by the way. This is the non-WordPressy stuff. Microsoft Edge is going away. They've decided to literally, by the sounds of it, bin the entire project. And of all things that they're going to do, they're going to jump on Chromium. So they're going to start using the Chromium browser to replace the default browser on Windows 10. Well, hopefully, I mean, in all honesty, those things from IE 5 and 6 have gone away where any site looked entirely different. It's been a long time since I've had masses of those problems. Nevertheless, if Microsoft and Google are all using the same engine to power the browser, this is going to help, and seems like a good time to do it. I don't suppose Microsoft were having a great deal of traction with Edge, so why not jump off? Now, this next one is a Chrome extension, and it's called SEO Minion, and I have no idea what this is like. I don't know if it's any good, but it says Chrome extension to streamline your daily SEO tasks. It says Alfred to your Batman, Mushroom to your Super Mario, Lightsaber to your Jedi Knight. You get the point. Install it in Chrome. And then they've got a video, and it says that they can analyze on-page SEO, check redirects, check broken links, SERP preview tool, simulate multi-location SERP advanced settings. I've not played with it. I'm just saying it's there. Go and maybe check it out if you want a new fun SEO tool. And I think I might have saved the best and most interesting piece of news till last. This is fascinating. The URL is sitekit.withgoogle.com, and the hero image says, bringing the best of Google tools to WordPress. And then there's a button where you can join the beta. Get authoritative and up-to-date recommendations from Google. SiteKit shows key metrics and insights from 4 different Google products. So it's integrating the Search Console, Google Analytics, AdSense, and page speed insights, and it's dumping all that data directly into your WordPress dashboard. Now, I can't say I've used it. I haven't tried it. I've filled out the form. I've got on the beta list, but I haven't actually received an invite yet. But you can see by the images, it's sitting all inside a WordPress. You click on a button, and all of the Google data that you've been, going off to Google products to check is now going to be inside a WordPress. So if you're interested in checking any of that stuff out, wow, I hope this comes off, because I'm constantly going to Google properties to search for different things, and if it's all in there made by Google, I'd be really pleased with that. Okay, that's it. I'm done. Thank you for listening to the WordPress news from WP Builds. Really do appreciate it. As I said, /advertise if you'd like to advertise on this news bulletin, and /contribute if you would like to get on the podcast talking about something that you've done recently which you believe is worth sharing with our listeners. Okay, I hope you have a lovely week. I really, really do. Enjoy yourself, and I'll see you on Thursday for the podcast. Bye-bye.